And a guy who I know he has contemplated going out and joining his colleague, Robin Washut, out in Vegas at the Crown for Saturday. It is Stephen M. Sipple from On3, Husker Online, and 93.7 The Ticket. Good morning.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. Has it crossed your mind at all since last night of going to Vegas for the weekend?
No. I mean, not real. No, it hasn't. It hasn't.
How are you consuming the 2-0 start at the Crown?
I watched it till 5 minutes was left in the first half last night. I got an early show like you guys, but it was clear to me who was going to win at that point.
It was,
yeah.
It was 5 minutes. 5 minutes left in the first half. It was very clear what was going to happen.
Well, they brought it within 8, Steve. There were some moments where they were single digits and they closed the door.
Come on.
Are you buying it, by the way? Actually, like, legitimate interview question here. Like, Cale Jacobson started yesterday, played 36 minutes, looked pretty damn good on both sides of the floor. Is there any, like, investment or, like, buy-in that you're taking from his performances at the Crown, or is it kind of just this is a postseason tournament that doesn't have enough stakes for you to really, look toward anything toward next season in terms of the performances you see?
No, I mean, Jacobson played well from what I saw. Did I see that first? I see the whole first game. If I did, I saw most of it. Jacobson played well in the first game of the Crown and played from what I saw in the first half last night, played really well.
Yeah.
No, you take something from that. He's good. Listen, I don't want to go overboard here, but he's viable. He could be you wonder what I would wonder with Jacobson is he discovering that he could go play, maybe start for a team somewhere, maybe Summit.
You and my co-host trying to rain on the parade.
It's the world we live in. Even though he's a Nebraska kid that has stuck it out, that crossed my mind that somebody will slide into his DMs and they might offer him a little bit of money. He'd have to think about it. No. That's how Sip and I think. It's the new world, man.
And Fred might have to. What he might be doing is making himself a sizable. It's all relative. He's not going to make Josh Dix money, but he could make $100,000. Seriously, I mean,
no, you're not wrong.
Might be able to do that.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, Dix's number. I was told by a coach yesterday. Dix's number is $2.5 million. That's for a guy who averaged 14.4. And I don't mind. I don't say numbers I'm not confident. I know that's the number. It's incredible what's going on out there. So a guy like Jacobson might be able to slide in and get 6 figures.
Hey, so I just sparked a thought because you are right. The money that is being thrown around is enormous. I also think all of the process before the portal happened that was going on during the season, because there's a lot of guys that committed right away. So that was all in the works. Do you think, and Nebraska's NIL for basketball aside, do you actually think in the NIL world and the transfer eligible immediate world has really lessened the impact of Fred Hoiberg? Because you can't sell Fred Hoiberg if you don't have money to back it up. Where maybe in the past you could sell Fred and guys would be like, oh yeah, I want to go play for you. But now Fred can go, hey, you can come play for me, but I don't have $2.5 million like Indiana or KU or something like that. Not as an excuse, but maybe the reality in what he used to do.
I mean, let's put it this way. Again, talked to a coach yesterday. The brands don't matter anymore.
That's a great point.
Kansas doesn't. It doesn't. What's on your shirt doesn't matter. There's one thing that matters, and you know what it is: the number. So, what has to happen at Nebraska if they're going to be serious is they have to really ramp up their NIL program. And I don't. You know what? Obviously, I guess I've been somewhat critical of Fred, but you almost have to back off that. He can only do so much. Nebraska, unfortunately, is in a position where you can it's just not going to be offered. It's just you just got to play. You're kind of playing in a different kind of, I don't know. It's in a different world. You just can't do it. You got to have way more money if you expect to go beat Auburn and Florida and Duke and Houston, you got to have a lot more money than Nebraska is willing to put out.
This may be a silly question, but I feel like if I lay it out to you in a way that it might be able to cultivate a pretty good thought. So, there's two different aspects of college sports right now. There's, basketball coaches and there's football coaches. Those are the two main sports, and those are the two main mediums of men being paid a lot of money to deal with a lot of things that they don't know what's going on, right? And both of them have their incredible issues. Football's got the 105 and the tampering and the transfer portals and the schedules and just the pressure of being the moneymaker. Basketball has the issues of just the uncertainty. You really don't know how your athletic department is going to prioritize you and how much money you're going to get, especially if you're at a football school. Steve Sipple, if you had your choice, would you rather be a basketball coach right now or a football coach right now?
Oh, God. Oh, God almighty. Neither. I just do something else. Like, if I had to do one of them, is that what you're suggesting?
Yes. If you had to do one of them.
It depends who my AD is, in part. Like, if I have a reasonable AD that doesn't have a lot of expectations, I would be a basketball coach because there's fewer headaches and fewer guys, fewer people involved. I'd go basketball, but I'd hope that I'd have an AD who kind of understood, how do I go beat, God bless Fred. I mean, he beat Creighton twice. He's beaten Creighton twice in the last 3 years, right? He did it with, even though Creighton is much better positioned in the NIL world. So yeah, I don't know what as a basketball coach, unless you're at a well-heeled school, those guys in the Final Four, and then you can name up some other ones. A lot of those Big East schools are in good shape financially. And I'm talking about NIL, the ability to pay players. I hope people understand what I'm talking about. I can't expect people to read my mind. That Josh Dick's story, I talked to a coach yesterday. It really is an eye-opener.
Yeah.
You can't offer him $1.8 million because the number's now 2.5. Creighton's involved. I mean, Creighton already has paid a lot for Owen Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
And they get the kids from Charlotte. Now they still got enough money for Dix. I mean, Nebraska can't do that. They can't do that.
Yeah.
They're not in position to do it. So Creighton's got this huge advantage. And that's what I mean. If I have an AD who understands that, I'd probably choose the basketball route. If I have an AD who's breathing down my neck, even though I'm at this large deficit in our ability to pay for the best players, then I don't know. I'd probably still do basketball, get a big contract, and know that I'm probably gonna, I'm gonna make $16 million, but I'm not gonna be here.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Steve Sipple joining us. Let's shift to football because listening to John Butler talk the other day, and we got to see him in action last week on the field the first time as a defensive coordinator. Matt Rule, to me, speaks in bullet points. Boom, 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 boom. John Butler is a deep thinker. Not saying that Rule is not, but when Rule speaks, it's bam, bam, bam. John Butler would like to read you the book from the front to the back.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic, but why do you think it will work with Matt Rule, a defensive guy, having John Butler as his defensive coach?
Why do I think it can work?
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of respect for what Butler did in the NFL with the Bills. I mean, he did exemplary work with the secondary there. I don't. It's a hard question to answer because you don't really know because he has such a limited experience as a defensive coordinator. I like his sort of no nonsense approach. I also like that he expects his guys to be immersed in the game and understand it at a high level, understand opponents, understand football at a high level. I love that. There's just a lot. Hey, but man, come on now. There's a lot we don't know about. How do I know? like how he's going to deal with all these new staff members.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds good, but we've been through this here at Nebraska for many years. It always sounds good in the spring.
Yeah.
How's it going to look? And that now I like their plan. I think they got a great plan, and the plan is we got to get better on third down. We got to get better in the red zone. We got to close out too. Get the interception. Recover the ball when it's on the ground. I like what they're doing. That's probably it. It doesn't really have anything to do with the relationship of Rule and Butler in my mind. In some ways, it's not. It's inconsequential to me. I've come to sort of believe that doesn't matter as much anymore, and it can't, because we're not in the era of coaches staying at places for a long time. I don't expect Dana Holgorsen to be at Nebraska for a long time. I don't, maybe a year or two.
So the life of Dylan.
Yeah. So what is the relationship with the head coach? Does it matter with Dana? No. I don't think it does.
No.
I think he's he works. I think there's a lot of autonomy with Dana, so I don't know. I just believe that each guy better be able to get his job done. And I don't imagine that all these guys are going to be here for a long time.
Steve, I've been at these press conferences, and I've always had an affinity studying some of the questions that you might ask, and some of the you've kind of been. I feel like you're really interested in the Phil Snow relationship within this team. If correct me if I'm wrong, but your take on it and your just opinion on what his role is and whether or not it'll have a great effectiveness on this staff after what you've heard and what you've heard from him and what you've heard from other coaches in terms of what he's been doing.
Gigantic hire, and I think it could be critical. I mean, his accomplishments are well documented. Having somebody with that sort of experience around every day, free to assess the scene, assess the defense, assess everything in its totality and with a broad view, I think it's gigantic. And then, if you want him to go micro, he'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
So he could be a great help to a guy like Butler. In fact, it's a really, the reason it's so compelling to me is Snow could run the defense really well. Now he's up there. His age is a factor, and he doesn't want to do a lot of the stuff that's required now. And a 51-year-old like Butler is much more suited. So, but Butler, his answer was great the other day. He's not going to stiff arm the feedback. He seems like he respects. You don't know for sure. He's at a podium. He's going to say the right things, but it seemed genuine that he respects Snow. And so, I think the setup is really good. And I also want to be clear, Butler. The one thing about Butler that I would never question is two things about him: his willingness to work and his knowledge of football. There's no question in my mind. If you're at the NFL and you operate at the level he did, I can't imagine what he knows. An incredible amount.
Yeah. He is a deep thinker when it comes to the picture of how everything fits together in football. You and Sean were talking about this, and so one of the things I think when Butler spoke the other day, and most of the guys that have come out as players to talk to the media are older guys, so they're established, so we know about them. You and Sean were talking about this, and it dawned on me because I was waiting for Butler to talk about defensive guys in particular, like certain young guys. Hey, how do they look? How do they make it through winter conditioning? What do they look like in the first week and a half? Hey, especially defensive back, we got 28 guys there. Who's maybe sliding over and playing a little rover? How's Caleb Benning looking? How's Donnie Jones looking? You and Sean were talking about this, and it dawned on me that I think you're spot on, that because of this whole world of portal and money, that maybe young guys being talked about heavily in the spring about, man, they look really good, those days might be over. Can you expand on that? Because I think you're onto a good point. You and Sean were on Husker Online.
Yeah, and I don't know that's the reason, Gary, but it could be. I mean, because if you lay out it doesn't even have to be a really young guy anymore. If you just talk about anybody that's on the rise or just playing well, yeah, I mean, there's teams are watching. It's getting wild out there. I mean, I just heard. So yeah, what I'm saying, what we're suggesting is why talk about it, Donovan Jones, openly and glowingly, if someone just happens to be paying attention and says, "Wait a second, we could go get him. What's his number? What's his number?" You know, that's what it is now. I mean, Kirby. I don't know if you guys played that Kirby Smart Sound. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. But he says right now, the portal window opens April 15th. The next portal window opens April 15th. So these agencies now are shopping players in advance of the portal window opening, and they're players that are on teams right now. I mean, and he said it could be one of my guys that they're shopping.
Well, yeah, he talked about how he and coaches were invited to Zooms to meet with some of these players who were, being represented by agents as, hey, these are potential guys that are going to the portal. And he kind of described it as, well, I can enter the Zoom and some of my dudes are there, which is absolutely insane. It's like going on a blind date and finding your girlfriend.
Right. So that's why you might play it much more close to the vest these days. I don't know that all coaches will, but it would make sense if that's why he did it. It also makes sense from the standpoint of just why, it's just, I don't know. I think Matt Rule does it sometimes where he speaks glowingly about players to pump them with confidence in a world where their confidence can be shredded quickly on social media. And kids are affected by it. Social media is wicked. I mean, it's a wicked place for players. It's really hard for guys. I see stuff sometimes I can't even believe they're saying about a player. But it's sort of the world, and you got to deal with it. But I think there's a reason sometimes where you see coaches do pump players up publicly. It's to counter that negativism that's all over the place. So I don't know. These are tricky times. They're tricky times for a coach.
Yeah.
Coaching's never been easy. I mean, not since I've been covering it, and that's 34 years. That element has never been easy. But I don't know anymore. It seems almost unwieldy to me.
It does. Sip, as always, we appreciate it. Thank you, my friend.
All right. God bless you both.
God bless you too.